First, we want to start off by measuring our canvas. Make sure you get the outside and the inside diameter. Hi guys, this is Tracy. Today I'm going to show you how to make the rainbow canvas for the free SVG, the Hope Anchors the Soul. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to shrink this down, move it out of the way. And I know by measuring my canvas that my canvas is 10 inches in diameter. So I'm going to bring in this circle here and I'm going to make it 10 inches. By leaving this locked, it'll be a uniform size. Okay, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this brown color just to represent the outside. And then I'm going to duplicate it. And the next layer I'm going to make, we're going to do 8.75. That measurement is the outside of the circle frame, the inside of that. So we're going to change this to white. And then I'm going to duplicate that. And then this one, I'm going to make 7.5. That is the inside of this one here. So let's change that let's just do this color for now. And I want to align all three of these. And then I'm going to group it just to make it easier. I'm going to move this out of the way and let's work on this. So with this design, what I did was I made everything black for the project that I made. So I'm going to ungroup this, and I'm actually going to ungroup all of this here. Go down, right click, ungroup, and I think I have everything. Oh, I'm going to ungroup this one. Okay, and I'm going to hide this color here on the inside of the rope, and then I'm going to hide the color behind the flowers. And I'm going to change this anchor color to black. And what I like to do before I weld anything is I always make another copy just in case I have to come back. So I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to group it, and I'm going to hide it. Alright, now I want to highlight all this, and then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to weld this. Okay, let's move this over so we can see it. Now the inside of my design, I want to make sure fits within this pink colored circle right here. Alright, I'm just going to play with it a little and see. I think about, let's do 6.5. See how that looks. I think that looks pretty good right there. Okay, now we're going to hide these circles. We don't need them. That was just for a visual reference. And I am going to use HTV, so I want to make sure that I mirror this. So I'm going to make it. Over here on my mat, I want to make sure that I mirror it. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and make it, and we'll continue from there. We're going to start by removing the canvas from the frame. This frame is made of particle board, I believe. It's a lot more sturdy than the wooden frames that are in the reverse canvases that I normally do. I started by using my X-Acto knife and went all the way around the staples. I had to use a bit more pressure than I normally do with the wooden frames. The blade didn't penetrate the surface as easily as it does with the reverse canvases with the wooden frame. Then I slipped a pair of scissors in the hole and just kept cutting all the way around to help release it from the frame. Then I'm going to flatten my canvas and we're going to start painting. You're going to flatten your canvas by smoothing it with your hands. Later on we'll use the heat press to flatten this down completely, but right now we're just going to flatten it down so we can start painting. I am a very messy crafter, so I have a piece of cardstock underneath my canvas to try to prevent anything messy happening on my table. This is just a little palette that I got from the Dollar Tree. Squirting all my little colors inside of here. You can use a paper plate or a bowl, whatever works for you. I also had a separate palette that I put a little bit of water in. You can use a cup, whatever. And you want to have a couple of paintbrushes handy. This is for not only for when you're painting, but then if you decide that you need to add a little extra paint, or for your blending, you might want to have an extra paintbrush handy just in case you need it. Don't forget, when you're doing this project, it is totally customizable. You use whatever colors you want. There's really no wrong way to do it. And you'll see as I go that I'm overlapping some of my colors. That's to help with the blending. And if you're having a hard time with the blending, dip your brush in just a little bit of water. You don't need a lot, but just a little bit. That will help blend your colors a little bit more. And like I said, there's no wrong way to do it. Just have fun with it. And you'll see I also add paint from the tubes through here if I need to add a little bit more. And while you're painting, you might, before you start or as you're going, you might want to try to visualize what your project's going to look like, where you're going to put your anchor. As you'll see as we go here, at the bottom of my canvas, I added purple, and you don't see it in my finished project at all. So you may want your color sections to be a little bit thinner. Again, it's all up to you. But I knew, since I was going to be using black HTV, that I wanted the red and yellow and orange colors to show more, kind of like a sunrise or a sunset look. This is the fun process for me. Creating the colors and blending them and seeing how it was going to turn out. I wasn't sure this was going to work on canvas, painting the canvas. I've never done it like this before, but I was so excited when it finally came out. I did a test project first, and I'll post a picture of that on the blog so you can see. But I was thrilled to death. Ran in and told my husband, "Look how cute it came out." And of course he looked at me like I was crazy, because that's what husbands do. They don't understand how crafting gets us all so excited. When your canvas is completely dry, you're going to take a sanding block. This is just going to help to dull down your colors. While you're sanding, you want to go in the direction that your lines are for your colors. And you're just going to sand until you get the look that you like. And as I'm sanding, you see the little dust particles that are coming off of there. You want to make sure that those are all completely off the top of your canvas, because those particles will show underneath your HTV when you press it. So when I was done, I just used a dry paper towel to wipe it off, and that worked great for me. I like more of a distressed look, so I gave it a good sanding. Okay, we're going to get our HTV ready for cutting. Remember that your shiny side goes down. And I am using a brayer to help adhere my vinyl to my mat. This helps with a smoother cut, and if you have any tiny pieces in your design, it helps your machine to cut it better. I've got my machine set on iron-on, and always remember to have your design mirrored before you push that button. And now we're going to cut our vinyl. Now it's time to weed the vinyl. When you are weeding your vinyl, always remember to go slow. Even though traditionally HTV is easier to weed than adhesive vinyl, you still should go slow. So start up at the corner, I poke a little hole at the top and pull back to release from the carrier sheet. And you see I'm taking my time here, pulling it all away from the carrier sheet because there's little pieces that I'm afraid I don't want them to rip. I'm sure that they won't, but you never know. Better safe than sorry. For this project, when I start weeding, I am going to be using a pin pen. If you guys have not tried a pin pen, I highly recommend it. It is a pen that has a little needle in the end of it, and it really helps with weeding and pulling up the little pieces of vinyl in your design. And I'm going to have a little weeding ring on my finger, which all it really is a little container that's supposed to hold nail polish. And a crafter got the wonderful idea of using it to help with weeding. This project took me a little bit longer to weed than others. I had to adjust my light a few times so I could see a little bit better. If you ever have a hard time when you're reading, tilt your head to the side and try to have the light reflect off of the project, the carrier sheet and the vinyl. Sometimes it helps you see the vinyl a little bit better. My eyes are not the best. So like I said, this one took me a little bit longer. And I'm not one of those crafters that really loves to weed. I know there are some that love weeding those projects that have tiny little pieces in it. I'm not one of them. But it is fun. To remove the canvas from the back of this frame, I started by using my scissors and cut all the way around as close to the staples as I could. You could leave the staples and the canvas on if you wanted to. I just took them off. It's total personal preference, but I needed my back to be smoother than with everything poking out the back. So I used pliers and I used my staple remover. You can see here that I got most of them off with the staple remover and the pliers, but it was not an easy job, just so you know. Here's my thoughts. Definitely a lot of work, so just be prepared. It did help to get a smooth finish though, and that's what I needed. To paint the frame, I'm going to use black acrylic paint and white acrylic paint. The white I'm going to apply first, and you can add a little bit of water to the white if you need to. I wouldn't add it to the black because that's going to be a dry brush technique that I will show you later. But for the white, if you'd like to add a little bit of water to help your paint spread a little easier, you definitely can. And I am using a chipboard brush to apply the paint. You can use a foam brush for the white if you wanted to, but when you get to the black, we're going to do a dry brush technique. And you definitely want a stiffer dry brush for that technique, and I will show you that a little bit later. I've got my cardstock underneath my frame again because, you know, I'm a messy crafter. Adding just a little bit of water to the brush. And if you need to add more paint as you go, you definitely can. I will say that this frame was very easy to paint. It took the paint very well. And especially when it came to doing the dry brush technique, it turned out gorgeous. Just wait till you see. But we just keep painting with the white here. And we're going to go all the way around. And if you're messy, like me, make sure you wear gloves. I forgot for this first layer here. But paint the outside, the inside, all the way around. Just till you get to the coverage that you like. After the white's dry, we're going to apply the dry brush paint with the black. And look, I remembered my gloves this time. A dry brush technique, all you need to do is dip your brush in your paint. No water this time. Dip it in, and then you're going to wipe off the majority of the paint that you just put onto a paper towel. What you're doing is removing some of the color because you're just going to lightly dry brush the black onto the white. Remember, it's best to start with a little amount of paint. You can always add more if you want to, but you're just lightly going over the top of the white paint that you have there and then around the sides too. This just gives it a different technique. And then when we're all done painting this, we are going to get a sanding block and we're going to sand down the paint that you just put on if you want to. Again, that is your personal preference. It gives it more of a distressed look. And that's what I like, so I went ahead and sanded all mine down. When I do this with wood canvases, I sand until the wood shows through because I like that look. I did try it with this and a little bit of the brown did show through, but it wasn't quite the same effect that you get with the wood canvas. But I still liked it. It turned out really cute. Once your frame is dry, take your canvas, your frame, and your HTV and get them all lined up to see how it looks. I trimmed my HTV carrier sheet down so it would fit inside better. And I did press the painted canvas before I brought it over. I forgot to record it, of course. All I did was I put it in my heat press with a piece of parchment paper over the top just in case it would bleed, which it didn't. But it gave me the opportunity to get it flat so that when I put the HTV on it, there'll be no wrinkles underneath it. And to help get the moisture out, because you always want to take your moisture out before you apply HTV. Okay, got it all lined up. Now we're going to go press it. I am pressing at 305 degrees for 10 to 15 seconds. My Teflon sheet is attached to my heat press with magnets. Hold it down, and then when you release, you can take your carrier sheet off and you're good to go. Now we're going to trim down our canvas so that it fits on our frame. Take your frame and lay it over top of your design with the canvas. Line it up so you get it the way that it looks good to you, and then you're going to take a pencil and you're going to go around the outside of the frame and leave a mark on your canvas as a cutting line. You may need to trim up some more after you cut off the first initial piece. The backing that I'm using is a piece of chipboard, and I'm just going to lay the frame on top of the chipboard and trace a circle on the inside. After watching the video back, I realized I probably could have traced the circle on the outside of the frame, but I was thinking that it was going to be too big. So I traced on the inside of the frame, but either way works. So I traced a circle on the inside, and then when I go to cut the chipboard, it's fairly easy to cut with scissors. I just cut it a little bit bigger than the circle that I made. And again, you can trim this down if you feel you need to. And this chipboard is going to get applied to our canvas as a backer to help keep your project a little stiffer, a little more sturdy when you go to hang it up. Canvas projects tend to sink sometimes when you apply it to your frame if you don't have something to keep it a little stiffer. So just line it up, get it to what looks good for you, and then we're going to apply our backing. So once you're happy with where you have your chipboard and your canvas lined up on your frame, we are going to do a hinge method so we can apply our adhesive spray. So you're going to flip it over and you're going to get a piece of, I used painter's tape. You can use whatever's good for you. And I'm going to put the painter's tape on the chipboard and on the canvas. And that allows us to have a hinge method so we can, when we spray our adhesive on, you lift up the chipboard and spray your adhesive on there and then lay it back down so that it sticks to your canvas. And I'm going to go spray that adhesive off camera, but I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, we have our adhesive spray on. I did it downstairs in the basement in a brown box. Make sure you have a well-ventilated area. And then you take your brayer and you just run over the top and over the bottom to make sure that it's adhered well. And then we're going to attach our frame. You can use a staple gun if you want to, but I will be honest with you, I am not good with staple guns. I always run a staple straight through my design. So I use the adhesive spray with my frame. And it worked out really well. I took the frame and I laid it over top of my trash can and just did a really quick, even spray. And that's what I use for the back. Just make sure you don't get it on your hands because it's very sticky. And then you just push it down, give it some time to dry. I did wipe off the excess with a paper towel. But that's it. Hope you guys love it and I would love to see your finished products. Come on over to the Facebook group and show it off. Thanks, guys.